Welcome back to Nick Lenz's Comic Corner, Classics Last Non-Classic. This is episode number 465 and double shot number 381. Two more Batman trades. First up, it's Batman Detective Comics, Volume 9, Gordon at War. Yeah, that's the name of this. This collects Detective Comics Volume 2, issues 48 to 52, and a sneak preview of Batman Rebirth Number 1. Written by Piero J. Tomasi with artwork by Fernando Pessoa and Scott Eaton. There are two stories in here. The first one is a two-parter known as Bronze Age. Yeah, it's just a two-parter of Batman with the Jim Gordon Batman face-off against a guy who uses faces of famous historical figures and put it on his murder victims. Turns out it's actually a friend of his, and that's really that. The last one is a three-parter known as Our Gordon at War, which is a play on the name, which, this is just my opinion, I think the name itself is a play on the crossover from the Superman crossover from the early 2000s known as Our Worlds at War, which pretty much crosses with all the Superman titles, plus a bunch of other titles in one-shots. Yeah. Which is just it's the last known official time Jim Gordon is a Batman in a Batman-related book, with him just going to investigate stuff related to his army guys, and that's really much it. Great covers in here. I don't reveal too much in here, and plus also, I should point out though, Jim Gordon as Batman has a pistol because he's a cop. Now I don't mind him using a gun. Jason Todd don't have a problem using a gun because he's a vigilante. Bruce Wayne Batman should never use a gun. Well, he uses a grappling gun, but never a gun with bullets. Though he does use guns on his Batmobile, but they're basically rubber bullets. Yeah, he refuses to use actually lethal force. That's basically what it is. These two stories are the last two stories in the Detective Comics that basically the last things that. By the time this was coming out, like when they came up with the start of the last arc of this run, the Bloom storyline had just ended. Yeah, 50 basically wrapped up the Bloom storyline somewhat. They technically knew who the Bloom was. Though I've heard he's gonna come back sometime in the future, but that was a year ago. These issues came out just last year. Yeah. Now overall, Piero J. Tomasi's run is comprised of 3 story arcs and an issue part of the Robin War crossover. The first one was a 2-parter involving him teaming up with the Justice League, though it's the DCU version, basically wearing the DCU costumes, investigating some kind of animals and autopsy type of stuff. Yeah, and then you have the chorus that tie into Robin War, and then you have these 2 story arcs that come right after that. Yeah, it's like Detective Comics hasn't had the whole thing of having a longer story arc than just like, I think the longest prior to Piero J. Tomasi takeover, I think the longest one was probably Francis Bucciello's first arc he did in this series, which was, I believe it was 5 issues. Yeah, 5 issues, but basically 6 parts. But Tomasi's run is actually the shortest run of the series. Ben Percy's run is just a filler one, but as for a regular run, this run is actually pretty short, and it's the only regular run of the book not to have it where the creator of the book, the creative team, the writer of the book doesn't do an annual. In the case of the previous creative team, Francis Mapo and Brian Bucciello, they did do one annual. They did A number 3. John Layman did A number 2, and number 1 was done by Tony S. Daniel. Yep. Pretty much as of right now, I've reviewed every single trade of this volume of Detective Comics. All except for, I think it was 1. The only one I can think of I did not review was the second trade that collected John Layman's run for Detective Comics. This is the second and last trade to collect issues from Piero J. Tomasi's run. His run was not very long, only 8 issues. Which, yeah. Unlike in the case of Dan Abnett, who pretty much took over Aquaman around the same time he did this arc. He basically did the last 4 issues, and still Dan Abnett is still the writer of it. Tomasi, I kind of felt as though that he was going to stay on the book, but I guess the reason now I'm fine with Tinian on the writing in the book. Book's doing great now, but pretty much a lot the Detective Comics stuff that come out from 2011 up until recently, I have reviewed the trades for them, except for one, and that was The Wrath. I think that was volume 4, if I'm not mistaken. Let's see. Yeah, it was volume 4. So out of the 9 volumes this trade series had, I reviewed all but one. The stories in here are actually pretty good. I give this a 9 out of 10. It's not exactly good as the other stuff, but it actually is pretty good. Though, as far as I can tell, the banner, this banner basically became like this during Francis Melpo by Belluccio's run. My guess is when Peter just Moss took over the writing book, he probably like, okay, I like this logo. I'm keeping it exactly where it is, no changing it. As far as I can tell, for currently, they have changed the logo, for this series for Rebirth. I don't remember what it looks like. I have to look it up later on, but this is not the current logo for the book anymore. But yeah, pretty good. Next up is Batman Beyond Rebirth, Volume 1. Collecting Batman Beyond, the Rebirth one-shot, obviously, and the first 5 issues of Batman Beyond. I believe this is Volume 5. Let me look at this up here. Yeah, I want to be sure about this, because this run only started just last year. And unlike some of the other Batman-related books that come out twice a month, this one is monthly. Though there was one issue recently where the writer of the book, Dan Jurgens, did not do the writing for the book. It was almost okay. This is currently volume 6. Yeah, this is the 6th volume for the series, so Batman Beyond. But the second volume that Dan Jurgens has done, I'm a little surprised, despite the fact it's the same exact creative team. And of course, I get the fact, yeah, you have a relaunch of the ring because of Rebirth, but I'm a little surprised they relaunched the graphic novel volume. So technically, this should be volume 4. Yeah, this is the 4th trade to collect Dan Jurgens' run for Batman Beyond. I have seen in the latest solicits that he's not the writer of this book anymore, and Bernard Chang, who's the artist, who has been the artist since the start of the previous volume, he apparently has taken over the writing duties of this book. I don't really know why. That could also explain why Action Comics is increasing from twice a month to 3 times a month. But this book is one of the very few books stays monthly. And originally, when this book started coming out last year, it was coming out at $2.99 per issue. Now it's $3.99 because the fact it's a monthly book. Let's just increase the price. It's been $3.99 since this past April. So roughly for the past 7 months, it's been coming out at $3.99. That's the price that I got what the issues are. The storyline here is that we have the return of the Joker. Yeah. Well, basically, this is the first arc of Terry McGinnis back as basically Batman, though he spent a majority of this arc not wearing the costume. He only puts on the costume the Rebirth one-shot and the last couple issues, but generally most of the storyline he goes undercover as part of the Jokers. I think this is their first appearance post Flashpoint, basically of this version of them from the show, which they were a gang of. From the show itself. There was a group of criminals who called themselves the Jokers, and at one point they were led by the actual Joker, though he was the Joker in the body of Tim Drake. Yeah, and also, I'm not really sure why Bernard Chang draws Commissioner Gordon like this. This is actually Barbara Gordon. Yeah, for some strange reason. I don't really know why. She's actually looks like she's about 20 years younger than she's supposed to be in the Batman Beyond timeline. Let's see if I can find her here. I know I've seen her here. Let's see. We still have Max. Yeah, the supporting character who was Terry McGinnis' best friend, who is a woman, who's a female friend of his. So, yeah, let's see if I can find it here. Here's Max. Yep. Same character from the show. Yeah, no change for her look at all. It's the same exact look she had from the show. I'm glad the fact they didn't change her. I'm trying to find Commissioner Gordon here. Yeah, Barbara, for some reason, I don't really know why this is, but she's still a little bit older than she is in present day, like roughly about 35 years older, but her hair is actually still red. Let's get a picture of her. I know I just saw a picture of her. Let's see here. Here we go. I think this is her right here. Yep. Yeah, that's basically how she looked in the previous volume when Tim Drake was basically being Batman. Yeah, I don't really get why this is, because when Terry McGinnis took over as Batman, Barbara Gordon looked like she was roughly in her 50s or 60s. Here she looks like she's probably in her late 30s, early 40s. This is just my personal guess. She could be as much as 50. But they never reveal exactly how old she is. Also, fun fact, when Terry goes on the cover, he goes on the cover as Trey Malone, the son of Matches Malone. Yeah, basically he's using a similar he's doing the same style Bruce used to do when he was Batman. When he went undercover as Matches Malone. And here he went undercover as Trey Malone, the son of Matches Malone. Interesting. Good job, Dan Jurgens. That is actually a really neat concept when it comes to Terry McGinnis. He has never gone undercover like this before. He's gone to I remember from the TV show he never went undercover as anything because he never did much undercover stuff anyways. And of course we had to turn to Bruce Wayne, which is great. The fact, okay, so you bring back Terry as Batman Beyond, and then next you bring back Bruce Wayne. Awesome. And then at the end of the storyline, I'm like, did Bernard Chang just rip off the I think it's Batman or 428 from Death of the Family when the Joker beat to death Jason Todd. Of course, this issue came out roughly like last year, so I'm not exactly spoiling this. Not much because it's old. But look at this. You have a guy, takes out a crowbar, beats the lead of the Jokers. He just whacks him like crazy. I mean, this is the same exact panel setup from Batman 428. It's the same exact setup. Like, whack, whack, whack. And then, bam, it's a Joker. Yep. Currently, this has not been followed up on right now, but this might be followed up soon. But this was a shocking ending to this arc. But I know I'm spoiling this, but this issue came out roughly about 6 months ago. So, yeah, it's not exactly a really big spoiler, but these issues are really good. I know my friend Tivia loves the fact that Terry is back as as the Batman in this series. I personally have a problem with Tim Drake, especially since Dan was basically integrating stuff from the TV show, mixing it with the DC universe. Also, and I thought this was really, really cool, when they show off the Batcave in here. Let's see. It's a good shot of the Batcave. Let's see. Here we go. We have we see some familiar costumes, like we see the costumes for Batman, Robin, Batgirl, and Nightwing. One thing I noticed about the Nightwing costume, it looks like his costume he had just prior to Flashpoint. Yeah, when he was Nightwing. Yeah, that's what it looks like there. Robin, it looks like, yeah, Trish, it's the first Tim Drake costume. That's what it looks like there. This looks like this costume right here looks like the Greg Capullo costume that he designed for Batman in issue 50. This Batgirl costume, looking at it, it kind of looks like the costume that she had in the TV show. Yeah, in the Batman in DC in the Batman animated series. That's what that looks like there. Of course, Nightwing obviously looks like but the first costume he wears is this costume right here. That's the first costume he wears in the series when this thing starts off. And then he starts wearing this costume here. I want to get a good picture of it. Yeah, he starts wearing this costume starting from issue 4, and he's still wearing it. And apparently there's a problem with this costume, and I think this might be explained in the next arc, because they just wrapped up the previous arc, which they with the League of Assassins, which hopefully the library gets hopefully get hands in the next trade. But this is actually really good. Dan Jurgens is doing a great job with this. So is Bernard Chang. There's also additional artwork here by Ryan Snook and Pete Williams. Bernard Chang does not do the Rebirth one-shot. This one-shot is done by Ryan Shook. Yeah, he does the Rebirth one-shot, but that's actually, now this one-shot is actually a prelude to the storyline Escaping the Grave. Great the fact they brought in the Joker, though this is the actual Joker. As how he's still alive, I don't know. Maybe this will explain it in an upcoming story arc. Who knows? But I get this book a 9 0.5 out of 10. It's really, really good. A little bit better than Detective Comics. I have nothing against Period Tomasi, but I just kind of feel as though it could have a little bit more, a little more interesting stories. But I'm glad the fact Hard Bullock was actually featured in that series. Currently, right now, the most recent thing I've seen him in is when he showed up for the Monster Man crossover. I haven't seen it pop up in any book. Commissioner Gordon has only popped up roughly a couple times in Batman, and he's mainly been just a recurring character in the pages of Batgirl and the Birds of Prey. He's appeared about most of that series so far. I think he's skipped about 2 or 3 issues, but generally he's appeared in most of the series so far. Here he doesn't appear at all, basically just Barbara. So it's like TV show mixed in with the whole thing with U-252 Futures End, though I think they kind of undid that in a way, because there's no mention of Brother Iron here, just basically, I guess you can think of this storyline as just Terry McGinnis going back to business. That's basically what this is. Alright, that's it for this episode. Stay tuned for the next episode, which will be episode... What? Episode 466 and double shot number 382. Okay, until then, I will see you there. Bye.